best could be. I haven't seen my Super Nintendo since 2003. That's alright, I don't mind. I've got a Switch in the old SwitchAroo. My friend Mike and Jaymo too.
Not that long ago, in a podcast far, far away from going viral. Welcome to the Old SwitchAroo, where we're gaming retro with Mike and Jaymo. Episode 4, 1, Clash of the Hunters, raking the hunters. Here is the scroll. It is a period of hiatus. Mike and Jaymo, posting from living room sofas and guest room closets, have won their very first victory against the evil internet algorithm. During the break, guest host Bryan and Lisa have managed to steal secret plans to Jaymo's ultimate filler episode, the Squad Brawl-Star Battle Royale, an action-packed live debate with enough hot takes to destroy an entire fandom. Pursued by the algorithm's sinister clickbait, the courageous content creators race to rank all 16 Star Wars hunters, bringing cringes and smiles to the galaxy. Or in other words, welcome to the Old SwitchAroo, where we're talking gaming retro with Mike and Jaymo.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Jaymo. We're on break from our full episodes before we start season 3, so this is our another installment of a feature we're calling the Old SwitchAroo Lite Switch. Instead of our normal focus on the over 250 retro games available on the Nintendo Switch Online catalog, we will be focusing on the free-to-play hero shooter Star Wars Hunters, available on Switch, mobile, and coming soon for PC. Specifically, we're going to be pitting every character against one another in a fight to the finish to declare one the hunter of all hunters. Subscribe or follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and make sure you're subscribed to make sure you're ready for whenever season 3 starts. Mike, I'm excited for this one. Are you excited?
I am.
Yeah, me too. And just like Hunters, it's podcasting so much more fun with friends. I am so happy to get the entire Siennaverse assembled for the first time on a single episode. Please welcome back, Cosplay King, Instagram's very own Bryan.s.lee. How you doing, Bryan?
I'm good. Finally, glad to be here. Finally talking about hunters, man.
Heck yeah! Do you like my intro?
Yeah, that was awesome. Just
I worked really hard on that.
was not expecting an opening crawl, and
Got to do it. I
and
don't
also
know,
the tune
Mike.
of Star Wars, no less. Yeah.
Well, yeah, start if it has a tune.
Oh, sure.
And rounding out our panel of judges today, the geek pop-ess herself, Lisa. We're so glad you could join us, Lisa. How you doing this evening?
Doing well. Happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you back. So as I mentioned, we are talking about Star Wars Hunters, released in May of 2024, as described on Nintendo.com, located deep in the outer rim on the planet of Vespara and broadcast far and wide on the HoloNet. The stories and legends of battles that define galactic history are brought to life to entertain audiences and create champions seeking fame and fortune in this new gladiatorial spectacle. Gear up for battle and pick a hunter that suits your playstyle from a regularly updated roster of new characters, including nefarious bounty hunters, heroes of the rebellion, imperial stormtroopers, and everything in between. Outclass opponents by mastering diverse abilities, skills, and strategies while fighting it out in intense 4v4 third-person combat and dominating opponents on the road to fame in the arena. Now, Lisa, I'd like to start with you if you don't mind. I've been told you've logged a truly impressive number of hours on Apex Legends. So I think you probably have the most hero shooter experience out of any of us. In your mind, what makes Star Wars Hunters distinct, and why do you think Bryan loves it so much?
Um, I'm just gonna go with it's Star Wars. I know that's a really simple answer, because it's very much not Spider-Man.
I had a
So
feeling you were going
my
to say that.
my only other choice then is it's Star Wars. Um, we know Brian loves two things, and well, I guess three now, but the first two, one's Star Wars, the second one's Spider-Man, and they might flip-flop, but they're right there at the top.
Absolutely. And Brian, it's been so fun playing with you online. You took to this game from jump just like I did, and have been playing it
Mm,
pretty much since launch. In fact, I think you're the only one here who has actually achieved the highest ranking. Is that called Kyber in this game?
yes, yes.
Kyber, I don't even know her.
Dun-dun-dun.
Hey.
Is there anything, Brian, that you think a player should know about Star Wars Hunters when they're first getting started?
Well, that's a good question. Um, Not really. I feel like it's pretty intuitive. I mean, I've always been wanting to. Well, as soon as I heard that there was going to be this Overwatch style, game for Star Wars, I was like, and knowing that that kind of gameplay is, or that at least because I've dabbled a little bit in Apex, mostly just watching Lisa play as well, but yeah, just as soon as I knew that they were doing a Star Wars version, I wanted to go full steam into it, and I don't know, I feel like I picked up on it just intuitively too, and so yeah, I don't know. I guess my answer is no. What was your question?
I'd ask if there's anything you think a new player should know, but I mean, I do think you're right. Like, it is a very intuitive game. It's being that it's on mobile, like the characters have to play kind of simpler because those
Right.
players are having like touch buttons instead of actual buttons.
Yeah, and, like if you want
Um,
to get granular, there's little things that I didn't pick up on right away, like Char's healing ability and stuff like that. You know, um, but no, I think in general, just dive in, and I think you'll find the kind of the characters that you favor over others, and because I feel like people all, depending on their different style of playing, have different favorites, which is more or less kind of why we're doing this episode. So yeah.
Absolutely. And Mike, I know it's kind of weird for me to throw a question your way, but you're brand new to Star Wars Hunters, and you're probably the most knowledgeable Star Wars fan I know, although Brian can certainly give you a run for your money. I'm just curious because we've never really had a chance to talk about it on our show. What is it about Star Wars that makes it so special for you? Like, what makes it better than like Star Trek or Battlestar Galactica or whatever? Why is Star Wars your thing?
Part of it is there's probably a case to be made that it's what I got to first, and I never got to the others. Um, Partially, I will quote my grandmother's take on why she liked Star Wars after not liking Star Trek, which was they actually do things. They don't just stand around talking. They actually do things. Um,
Bit of a harsh
and
burn on Star Trek, but I get it.
yeah, and then for me, it was the Star Wars expanded universe and just the sense of a very broad, rich world or rich galaxy that has so much going on in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's a lot of people's frustrations with like movies always sticking around the same Skywalker family because there's so many cool stories being told elsewhere. And I think with like the TV shows and like with the games with really good narratives, we're kind of getting more of that lately. But yeah, definitely agree. My introduction to Star Wars, Mike in elementary school asked me to go with him to see the re-release at the Man 10 Theater. I don't know if Brian remembers that place.
Oh yeah.
Lisa, did you ever go to the Man 10 in Santa Clarita?
Yeah. Yep. It's a
Yeah,
church now.
and he was like, "We're gonna see a movie called Star Wars. Like, it's really cool." And I'm like, "Okay, Mike." And I remember we left the theaters, and like he was super jazzed that I liked it so much. And that was Return of the Jedi. That was my first Star Wars movie. What was everyone's first Star Wars movie? Real quick before we dive into the game discussion, I'm just curious.
Jedi.
Yeah,
Lisa?
It's the
I
one.
think the first one.
How do you
yeah,
I grew up with it. My parents loved it, and it like I mean, it it wasn't like a family thing to sit down and watch it, but I know over like the Thanksgiving holiday, it was always on TV and everything, and we'd watch it on there. We
yeah.
had it on video. We went to see the re-releases. So I've it's just been a part of my life my entire life.
Yeah,
And
I
then you
got
and
to.
Brian covered it
So,
on Geek Pop over and over again.
well,
Sure.
it's fine. It's kind of funny that hearing you guys like Brian's like I didn't know about it until the re-release, and you didn't know about it until the re-release, and I'm like, how weird. I've literally it's been a part of my life my entire life.
Yeah, no,
No, I
Jedi is
get
the
you.
one that I remember earliest, but that is entirely because at some point as a very young child, I exhausted the library's section of nonfiction things that contained astronomy in the titles. And so I started to veer into things that had space things in the title which is also how I discovered Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy at an age that was possibly far too young to understand that.
Sure.
I love that you read
That's
out
awesome.
the library's space section.
Oh yeah.
Brian, what about you? What was your first Star War?
The first one was A New Hope for me, and I think Lisa, and at least her experience, and I guess Mike's too, because I know like you saw Jedi at you were saying like at home, like on VHS or something, or on TV, yeah. I think a lot of, especially us millennial generation, where we were born after the original trilogy, but uh, but obviously quite a ways before the prequels started coming out. A lot of us, like, it was just still part of the zeitgeist, and people would catch it on TV or on VHS, or their parents or their grandparents would introduce them. I feel like that's the most common story for people of our generation and how they first saw Star Wars. But when the re-release happened, like, none of my family had seen it. We all went to see it for the first time. I still remember as a kid first seeing the trailer in late 1996 for the re-release and just going like, "Oh, that looks cool. It's spaceships and lasers." And like, I think I kind of heard the term Star Wars like it was some old sci-fi movie or something. And then, yeah, that Man 10 Theater, which is now, as Lisa mentioned, now it's a church, which I always find amusing because that street is still called Cinema Drive, despite the fact that there's no theater on there anymore. But yeah, that little local theater was where our family all together first saw Star Wars, and I was the one that really got the bug bitten, or got bitten by the bug, I should say.
Wouldn't it be wild if like young Mike and young Jeremy were actually in the theater with you and we just hadn't met yet? You know what I mean?
We all could have had that happen.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because at least thankfully because of that, I got introduced to them in their proper, so to speak, order. I watched 4 and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome. I got to come back next month when the sequel comes out." And then none of my family really wanted to join me. So my dad took me, and my dad's not a big movie guy. So I always remembered that like he fell asleep during Empire while I'm sitting there going like, "Oh my God." And then I remember when I wanted to see Jedi, my dad was like, "I'll just drop you off at theater and then I'll pick you up in a couple hours." And I still distinctly remember being 11 years old in the theater watching Return of the Jedi, having now finished the trilogy, and this wash of melancholy, like, going over me, like, Star Wars is over. There's no more. And
Only
then
you knew.
Yeah, and then shortly thereafter, I learned, oh, they're making like a prequel
Prequels.
trilogy to this, and it's coming out in a couple years. Sweet. I didn't have to wait 16 years like all the other, Gen Xers and older people who had to wait the whole wait from 1983 to 1999. So
You like Boba Fett? You like Darth Vader? And we'd be remiss not to mention Mike and Brian's experience with the lining up.net charity work. They lined up for thousands. Well, Brian beat, I think, 1,000 hours waiting for episode 3.
I think it was 1,001 hours and 45 minutes.
That's
Yeah,
exactly.
not all in a row. They would log in, but still quite the fan achievement. And actually, internet, let me know if you know of someone who's waited in the line longer than that. I'm sure he's very high up as far as the global leaderboard of waiting in line for movies.
Yeah, I remember him
1,000 hours
introducing
waiting
himself,
movies.
or that being pointed out to the Red versus Blue guys at Comic-Con, and I think one of them asked him for a hug.
I remember that. Yeah.
Well, guys, I think we have a pretty well-rounded panel. So let's get started. We're going to kick off the official Star Wars Hunters Brawl-Star Battle Royale. We'll be determining which of these 16 characters is the best of the best in a single elimination tournament. Characters will be judged on style, technique, and just overall player appeal. Characters in Star Wars Hunters belong to one of 3 classes: damage, tank, and support. However, since the damage class represents literally half of the entire roster, there's 8 of them, we're going to split those into 2 distinct rounds, starting off with the close range damage class. These are for hunters who are most effective when they get right up in the opponent's face. And so we have got J3DI, the Jedi droid, Reeve, the dark side assassin, Aaron Tall, the Mandalorian vanguard, and Pillbush, the Ewok Grenadier. So Brian, we'll start with you here. If you had to eliminate one of these characters from the tournament, who would you eliminate first?
It's hard to say. It's like picking between your children.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like about this game is that I like playing pretty much every character. Not Not all of them, but pretty much all of them.
Yeah, similar here.
So let's do the battle of the lightsaber wielders first, right? The Jedi droid versus the Sith assassin. I would like
Yeah.
to throw my support behind J3DI staying. Um, Reeve is a glass cannon character who I never play very well as. Like Akuma in Street Fighter is very similar. Really high damage output, really fast, but dies really, really quickly. And if you go on StarWarsHunters.com, they describe her and J3DI's gameplay style as being opposites. So
Hmm.
Reeve is fast and very complicated but dies quickly. J3DI is slow and simple but hangs in the fight much longer. And I love him. I love that robot. The robot who thinks he's a real Jedi.
Right.
And and even as bits and pieces fall off of him and he's collecting his gears, he's like, "Oh, bits fall off all Jedi, right?" And I was like,
Oh
"Oh,
yeah.
buddy, you're not a real Jedi."
You're
And he
right.
thinks he thinks his grapple arm is the Force.
He
Like,
thinks he has a
I
force.
love that.
I love how when he does his ultimate attack, he's like, "May the centrifugal force be with you." Like he's
It's so cute.
That is
It's
the
yeah.
best line any character has had that I have heard.
Yeah.
yeah. There's a reason he's the face of the game when you download it on Switch.
Yeah. Although I gotta
Uh,
say, at least when you're comparing J3DI and Reeve, I think I used to be with in your camp at the early on with the game. I preferred J3DI and I found Reeve to be a little bit too much of a glass cannon. But
yeah.
once I got the hang of Reeve, like Reeve has quickly become one of my top tier characters, especially like as long as you know to get at like no bear in mind how little health she has, but at the same time she has such an advantage in covering distance with
Yeah.
that
She can
leap.
leap and lunge.
Yeah, yeah, and that comes so much in handy, especially in game modes like Trophy Hunt, where you got to get to that droid, or you got to, or you know, or if you got to get to that control point really fast. I find that to be such an advantage for her, and then sometimes it can be a little frustrating for me to go back to J3DI and like, oh, geez, I just have this lightsaber. I need to get all over there to, this close range weapon. Like they talk about how the lightsaber is such an ultimate weapon in universe. It's like, but yeah,
Yeah.
but if they're over there, all you can do is deflect bolts, So
Well, I'll also add that
same.
Reeve's super attack, where she pulls everyone towards her with the Force and knocks them all down,
Yeah.
is cool because like it's storytelling wise, your opponents are on the ground and she's just slashing into them. It makes you feel very evil and very vindictive, kind of like the VR game I was talking about, Mike, where you're knocking down opponents and killing them. But then also in objective based modes, it's great because she forces the player to like drop the ball, or you could suck them out of the control point. But I just have so much more fun playing J3DI. So, Lisa, have you had any experience with these characters?
Only J3DI.
Okay.
I've been able to play so far. And I would say I was annoyed with his playstyle at first, but once I got
No.
the hang of it,
Okay.
I was, if I had maybe like 10 more games to play with him, I think I would have gotten the hang of it.
Yeah.
And he was becoming more fun the more I played him. At first I was like, oh no, this is gonna be bad. And then I was like,
Yeah.
oh no, I think I got this. And then he's got his forceful, his hook shot, and you pull people to you, and I was finding advantages with that where I think one of you guys was being attacked and I pulled someone off of you. So maybe it was, instead of 4 versus 1, it was 3 versus 1.
Yeah. And that's why I like him more than Reeve, because he's more of a team player. Like since he has a bit more life than Reeve, he can stand in front of a more vulnerable character with his lightsaber and just be deflecting, and it makes you feel like a real Jedi, like you're protecting your friends. And then, sometimes a character will start to make a getaway and you grab them and pull them back towards your allies. And you're like, "Where are you going?
Mm,
Get over here." It's like
no, sure.
Scorpion Spear from Mortal Kombat.
I was gonna
Um,
say, like, I love just the games that we were just playing right before recording. I remember Lisa even saying, like, "Get over here," and it's like, "Oh yeah, that's what it is, a scorpion ability."
so Mike, as much as I like Reeve, any objections to eliminating her and keeping the robot?
I mean, from mostly playing against them, the one that has more presence is J3DI.
All right. So let's go ahead then and
Mm.
eliminate Reeve. And
Ooh.
then, well, for now, Brian.
Sure.
Maybe we'll do this again when they do another year worth of the season. So
Well, I
then,
should also shout out, like, I think one of her most effective abilities too is that saber throw. It can like,
yeah,
and especially for certain hunters that are low health, that saber throw will kill them. You know,
And I remember when Mike and I saw Return of the Jedi in the Manton Theater and Darth Vader throws his saber at Luke. It felt so scary. It was like, you're allowed to do that?
right?
And I think it like takes down the whole walkway. Oh, that's such a good
Yeah.
fight. So then we also need to pit the two DLC close range damage characters against each other. Aaron Tall, the Mandalorian Vanguard versus Pillbush Ewok Grenadier. I'm gonna fight you guys on this one. The Ewok is the clear winner. I love Pillbush so freaking much. She's so cute the way she dances to like the menu music and her little victories. She's the equivalent of a Civil War reenactor. Her family were in the Battle of. I'm serious. I read about this today on StarWarsHunters.com. Mike, they better promote this episode. I'm promoting their freaking website. No, but so her family and friends fought in the Battle of Endor,
Oh,
and she's this big history buff, and so she wanted to fight in the arena in historically accurate strategies and ways, which is why she's using a repurposed ATST that she custom built. She's kind of like a cosplayer.
I didn't know that lore. That actually is really sweet and
Yeah,
thinking in universe, especially from the perspective of an Ewok, and such a critical battle of that where finally they were able to defeat the Empire. Like, my God, how
yeah.
legendary that would be. Yeah,
Was it
no, I
an
love that.
Ewok that steals the ATST or was it Chewie? It was Chewie, wasn't it?
Chewie pulls them out, but he's definitely being assisted by Ewoks.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But I mean, I just love it's such an inspired character design because like the moment I saw that, I was like, well, I mean, I was gonna buy every season pass anyway, but I'm like, I'm definitely buying her. I'm not waiting to play that. And I also like because her grenade attacks are very unique in that you can bank them off of walls and you have to aim with like an arc. And because of their explosion, like you can take out multiple opponents at once. She has the little wisps which is very like Mike. What was that Ewok movie called? The Grand Ewok Adventure or something?
There's Caravan of Courage and Battle for Endor.
So her using wisps from Endor to like blind and your opponents. I
Yeah.
just thought it was nice little storytelling.
I think
Aaron
it's one of the
Tall's
most
fun.
effective attacks too. Just that
Yeah,
Wisty attack. Yeah.
but Brian, you're an Aaron Tall fan, right?
I am, but I'm also like, I mean, pitting up against Pillbush is going to be hard. Yeah, so I actually might be a little bit in your camp here, even though I feel like Aaron Tull is one of the not least appreciated, most underrated. I feel like of the heroes.
Yeah.
Pillbush with that, yeah, dropping those. I thought it was Wisties. Well, either
Wispies,
way,
maybe.
I think so because I know. Well, either way, I know. I don't know if it was introduced through because I know they're actually from they're taken from lore, but the first time they were I think implemented into a game was in Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Okay.
I mean the more recent Battlefront 2, which is frustrating because there's an earlier Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
But
The series has gone through the numbers twice.
yeah, but like especially the Ewoks in that game, there's a great game mode called Ewok Hunt that's only between Ewoks and stormtroopers. It's almost like it's like asymmetrical gameplay style too, where like you start out with a whole bunch of stormtroopers and only two Ewoks, and every time they kill a stormtrooper, they respawn as an Ewok. And it's a really great game mode. And those whiskey, like they have little whiskey pouches that they call them, and like yeah, and I knew right away like oh my god, this is that great thing from that game where you can just and because it slows down the stormtroopers and it hurts them little by little and just yeah. Um, anyways, I just find that that's one of the most effective weapons in this game all around. And you pick up on it right away. Aaron Tull, I feel like is underrated, but there's a learning curve with him,
Yeah.
which can be frustrating. Whereas Pillbush, it's like you can just start beast mode right away.
Absolutely. So it sounds like we're both kind of leaning towards Pillbush as the winner in this one. Lisa, Mike, any thoughts?
Since I haven't played either, I'm just going off a straight design, and that's Pillbush.
Yeah. And we said style, which is just aesthetics, technique, which is
Mhm.
how effective they are in combat if you're familiar with them, and just overall player appeal. Aaron Tall canonically is like the last of his clan, and he's the honorable Mandalorian, and he's the Cyclops of the group. You know what I mean? He's I'm sure he's a great guy, but he's just not as interesting, especially when you take in Pillbush's Civil War buff backstory. I was
Right.
like, come on. So, Mike, you good with that?
Yeah, because I think Aaron Tall just has struck me as boring as a opponent.
Okay.
Pillish is a bit more interesting, which I'm also now digging into to try to check. Now that you bring up the Wisties that I didn't know were present, I think those were in the Ewoks cartoon.
Yes, that's what
Wow.
it was. Yeah. So they pulled them from the lore, but it
Which,
was in universe, but I loved how effective they'd be in Battlefront 2. And as soon as I saw that Pillbush had the same, and then all the aforementioned reasons too about Pillbush's design is so fun. Just looking at her like her repurposed ATSC with its wood panels and everything. It's such a fun character visually on top of just being such an effective hunter. So
Right. So then any objection to keeping Pillbush over J3DI? I like J3DI, but I think Pillbush is just cuter, more fun, more interesting. I think it's kind of a slam dunk.
I would go J3DI. I think as from the
Really?
playing standpoint,
Okay. Why?
there's feels playable.
Okay. Yeah. He's one of the first you unlock for a reason. I like J3DI gameplay because it's very easy to understand.
I
And I
find him
mean
to be
that in
the
terms.
oh sorry. Well, I find him to be the most effective melee character too. I give you that.
Okay, so are you joining Mike on team
No,
J3DI?
no.
Yeah, Pillbush. Okay, come on, Lisa. We need three.
Oh, it's Ewoks all the way.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. So Pillbush advances on to the finals. Let's do the second round in the tournament, which is going to be the but long range damage class. These hunters tend to have less health and are great at picking off enemies from a distance. So we've got Diago, the Mira Luca sharpshooter. Let me know if I'm saying that right, boys. Utuni, the Jawa scavengers. Nox, the Zabrak archer. A little typo there. And Amara Vex, the unrelenting bounty hunter. Mike, are you familiar with any of these characters to kind of start off our discussion here?
Yeah, so I think so. I played at least once with all of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
And
think right off the bat, like I think just when I went through this as initially getting into the game and going through and seeing all the characters it'll play like their little intro videos, but you can see the characters. Like
yeah.
right off the bat, Utuni as a concept of just two Jawas in a trench coat is amazing. The name is great.
Yeah.
I find it a little bit weird that they didn't spell two TWO,
Right.
but almost that disguised it a bit more because I did just read it initially as Utini, which
Yeah.
roughly means I think come here.
Right.
Yeah.
So the fact that just everything that they've done in that concept nails it.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite character designs by far. And it lore wise, they're two brother scavengers and they're always fighting over who gets to be on the other person's shoulders.
They're fighting for
They have
top
they have a
rank.
daily argument of who's going to be the bottom and who's going to be the top. But he's unique though because, or excuse me, they are unique because they have a really good long range attack. It's kind of like this single fire pulse rifle, I think it's called. But then with the A button, the bottom Jawa will switch weapons and they'll throw up the short range one, which is this called this arc blaster, I think. And it's really cool because it's just this little taser, but you don't need to aim it. If you're holding down that fire button, any enemy that's anywhere in front of you will take a lot of damage really quickly. So Brian, are you with me and Mike and saying let's compare? I mean, let's compare Utini to Diago. Diago is the sniper character,
Mm.
the Miraluka sniper who does not have eyeballs. I guess Miralukas are born without eyes. So for social purposes, they wear this bandana, and there's a lot of speculation as far as whether or not Diago is using the Force or this is all some kind of like long con that he's
Oh.
doing to mess with people betting on the matches. Um,
So
but
he's actually walking, looking through like he can see through that. He's totally got eyes this whole time.
yeah, or is he
I
like being or is he being fed information or something, you know what I mean?
gotcha. I gotcha.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
the I wish they had more story content because I find the little ideas in there all really fun.
Well, I like the mystery behind it too, and I guess I never really considered the possibility, like, how is he doing this, doing all this sharpshooting if he doesn't have eyes? And
I thought it was,
maybe he's force sensitive.
yeah, really reminiscent of Donnie Yen's character from Rogue One,
Oh yeah.
the blind monk who was like incredibly combat effective.
Mhm.
But I'm not good with Diago. Like people who are great with him are a force to be reckoned with. He's one of the few hunters that can get a one-hit kill with his headshots. He can just wipe out certain hunters in a single shot. And I'm really hoping game devs, if you're listening, watch his balance once the PC release comes out because a mouse and keyboard character with Diago could break this game.
Mhm.
Like that's how strong he is. Lisa, did you ever play any like sniper characters in Apex or your hero shooters?
I have. I am terrible at them.
Yeah, me
I
too.
am not a sniper in any in any sense. I'm very much the brawler that I'm ready to Leroy Jenkins my way into a fight and hope I win.
Yeah, we'll get to that character later. So
Yeah.
all agreed. Utuni beats out Diago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
no, I agree.
Utuni's the only one I haven't played out of those characters, but that's the best design overall.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
then
very,
Lisa,
very charming design, and also especially once you get the hang of that swap to that close range. Like I was resistant to that for a while. I think I told you, Jeremy, that because I know you took to Utuni right away. It
yeah,
took me a little while. I didn't quite get the hang of him, and then once I decided like just to give him a go and then get used to swapping to that close range, that's when I really learned how effective that close range weapon is. Like
yeah,
it's not hurting anybody at distance, but if anybody's in your close range, swap over to that. You will take them out.
yeah,
It's so effective on top of how fun and interesting that design is. It's similar to Mike. There was a moment where I was like, oh, that should have been two with a W, but also like I kind of dig the TOO. It's like, two, like ooh, two neat.
yeah.
I don't
As
know.
well, like
Yeah, as
yeah. In
well.
in
Yeah, so
addition,
I think
yeah,
it's
yeah.
more that it meant that I initially then went interpreted it as ooh tune e, and it's like I don't understand how that works. I was like, oh yeah, no, two.
I guess so, yeah.
well, and Uchuni's also the super attack is the moment I texted Mike and was like, "You got to play this. This has like Star Wars Demolition vibes." Uchuni's super is that they within seconds out of scrap assemble this little vehicle, this little hovercraft with this
Right.
huge laser, and it's like you have it for a few seconds. It's like a vehicle shooter, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
so fun. So then Lisa, would you kick us off in discussing the final two long range damage characters, Nox the Archer versus Amara Vex? Anyone you're leaning towards in terms of like aesthetics or appeal or gameplay if you've experienced them?
Irma Vex is the character I've played the most as,
Yeah,
and I like I said, I'm not a sniper, and besides, I haven't played Utuni, but playing Diago, I kind of felt like he's only effective from long range. Short range or mid range, like he's not really there. Irma Vex, I feel like I can just kill anyone, anywhere, and I'm okay.
yeah,
Um, I played as Nox earlier, and she doesn't feel as damaging, or not as damaging, but as to me, I mean, I got a one hit kill off of her. I was destroying people left and right when I could hit them. She doesn't feel like, as terrible of a sniper as, where I always feel punished being a sniper. I
yeah,
don't feel punished playing Nox. I feel punished playing Diago.
Mhm.
I don't feel punished playing Irma Vex. And to me, Irma Vex is, I'm gonna say, the least sniper out of that group. Because
yeah.
I feel like she's effective short range, mid range, and long range. And
I
actually, I
really,
barely used her long range.
yeah, I really like Amara Vex's homing rocket attack. Do you guys remember the
Mm.
Ronco Showtime rotisserie cooker? Remember those commercials?
Yeah, set it and forget it.
That's the missile, Brian. It's because like that
Yes.
thing can lock on to an opponent from the other side of the map and it
It
does
is
like a
such Yeah, it is
Mhm.
such an effective homing missile, and it recharges relatively quickly. And it's just yeah, it just that ability alone gives her such an edge
yeah, and I
from really any distance. Yeah.
I like her ultimate attack too. The salvo of missiles. She fires like 15 rockets,
Yeah.
and it just peppers a certain area. That's one of the you see that in the first match of this game. You're playing this game. You're like, this game's actually wild. Like there's like
Right.
some really splashy super attacks. Nox I do think is really fun to play, and I'm excited to get better with her. I love her L trigger ability because it's a spread fire of arrows that poison your opponents. But if you hold it down for longer, the spread gets more and more condensed. And that's a cool little, instantaneous strategy moment because it's like, okay, do I want to cover a wide range or do I want to just annihilate the player standing right there?
Right.
So I like Nox. I would say Amara Vex though, just because she's so much more imminently playable. Um, would probably get the edge in my mind.
Yeah, Nox is also so like, especially as as we're recording this, Nox was only just recently released,
Yeah.
and I've certainly seen some people, especially that hover ability that she can do,
Yes.
where you can leap, and then if you immediately draw your bow at that moment, you will hover for a second there, like no matter where you are, and just you can rain down fire from there. I really suck at getting that to work, so I feel like maybe with a little bit more practice, Nox might become one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But there's a reason they start you with the Mara Vex at the beginning of the game. She's very effective. She's very user friendly, and like Lisa mentioned, she is technically a kind of sniper character, but she's effective at any range. Whereas Diago, you really just only got to be from far away or have your ultimate ready. I mean, even there with Diago, like I was talking to you earlier about how like the best moment I ever had in this game was playing as Diago. I loaded his ultimate, and really more of this was luck than any skill. I fired a single bullet and got 3 headshots, and then killed one more, and then it wiped out the whole team. I was like, "Oh my god, I will never get another moment like this." But that was mostly luck. Like I'm not one of. I think I'm mirroring the sentiment I think of everyone here that like I'm not really a sniper type of player. Some people I think have a knack for it, and that they always gravitate towards those kind of snipers. But I mean, Amara is kind of multi-purpose in that way. You can kind of use her in any situation.
All right, so then we agree we eliminate Nox and then pit Amara Vex versus Utuni. I feel like there's another Pillbush situation. Like the two Jawas in a giant trench coat sneaking into the movies. That wins, right?
I mean I'm still fighting for Irma Vex, but yes, I get I if she loses to Utuni, that is valid.
I wouldn't have even advanced Mara Vex this far, let alone against Utuni.
All right, so then that settles it. Utuni
Yeah.
is the one of choice. All right, let's go on to round number 3. This is a big one, Battle of the Big Beefy Fighters. There are 5 tanks in this game. So we are going to pit Sentinel, the Imperial Heavy Trooper, Char, the Trandoshan Trapper, Graz, the Wookiee Juggernaut, and that's how it's spelled on the website. So I don't know if that's a Star Wars thing, you guys, but
No, I was about to say, props to spelling Wookiee correctly, because so many people get that wrong. It's an
but
extra,
Juggernaut is, as you'll see on the Google slide, it is marked as misspelled, but I triple checked it from the website. So I don't know if there's an error on the website or if that's a Star Wars term. There's Slingshot, the Droidica Speedster, and Chaos, the Twin Shield Droid. So let's just kind of say our likes and dislikes and try to kind of settle on a favorite. Brian, will you lead us in the discussion on the tanks?
Sure. That's just in general with all 5 kind of.
Yeah, just like, do you have a favorite?
That's a good question. I have a least favorite.
Okay,
Like,
let's start there.
I cannot. I mean, I realize there are some people who are very effective at it, but I suck at Char, and especially just the fact that he's just got those. I mean, very powerful 2 shotgun rounds. But as soon as if you don't quite hit them, then you're sitting there reloading the thing. There's really nothing effective with him for mid range and far distance. I mean, I realize also he's got that killer like healing ability. I think a lot of people don't pick up on it too, like because I follow the Star Wars Hunter subreddit, and even people who've been playing a long time will like somebody will mention, oh, you're don't shoot Char when he's green. He's charging up his health. It's like, oh shit, I didn't realize that's what he's doing then.
And Mike made the comment, he's always green.
Yeah.
He's a Trandoshan.
Right. But
he's really green.
Right. But personally, I don't know. I just can't quite get the handle of Char, and I always avoid him the most out of really all the hunters. So
Yeah, I
um,
would agree. The shotgun, I feel like because there's only two bullets in the chamber or whatever,
yeah,
you're reloading as much as you're shooting, and that's
yeah,
just
yeah,
really frustrating. I like that all his abilities are about disabling the opponent's movement or pulling them closer to you so you can get those up close lethal shotgun shots. I really like his super attack where he goes into this crazy rage and every time he kills an opponent with his super powerful melee attacks, that rage meter resets so you could kind of run around the whole map if you're good enough. But
yeah.
I'm not good enough. And it's interesting, I was, doing the research on all these characters, and most of the characters have 2 or even 3 paragraphs of backstory. He gets 2 sentences. It's like poor Char. Yeah, I was
Oh
I
gonna
don't
no.
want to dig into the backstory of Trandashans.
why is that?
So there is I don't know if they've kept it around, or at least in the EU, there's very much an issue between them and Wookiees because they live in the same system. And Trandashans basically were slavers that sold the Wookiees to the Empire.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, I
Yikes.
believe it's also part of the new canon as well. But yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but I think aren't they in the same system too?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like there's a long, deep rivalry between them. Like so I think yeah, like I think even doesn't or he said that there was only a couple sentences, but I think isn't he also particularly like Groz is like his
Rival.
Nemesis?
his nemesis of sorts, I guess.
I
Just I
think
guess
that's
because
true, yeah.
he's Wookiees or something.
Yeah, probably because of all the slavery.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, so let's just segue into the Wookiee
I think
character.
that's fair.
Yeah. Lisa, have you had a chance to play as Groz, the Wookiee?
I believe I have him unlocked. Yeah,
Okay.
I've played him a couple times. I've played everyone but Slingshot and was it Chaos?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, these characters I like, but they take a little time to learn. I think Sentinel is the easiest to learn
Mhm.
because he's
Yeah.
if you've I want to say if you've kind of played any heavy Star Wars character or any Star Wars game and you've played the heavy character, it's usually someone carrying a very heavy weapon.
Right.
It's very similar to those, so it's easier to pick up on.
Yeah.
And I liked his ultimate where you get two buddies to come in and help you out. That feels effective.
Yeah. And
And I
it's a
did,
cool moment too.
yeah. No, I did want to add though that like I absolutely do have favorites with the tank characters depending on maps.
Yeah.
Like especially if you're playing Vader's castle, where you got all these, in very much Star Wars style, very precarious ledges over lava and like no guardrails. Sentinel, Groz, and especially Chaos become like so. They have those melee attacks that,
Charges?
that that push you,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
knock people into the lava. Like I love just being Sentinel and just keeping my finger on that R ready to just right in the lava, right in the lava.
Yeah.
Groz is a little trickier because Groz has a charge ability, and you have to cancel it so that you don't fall in the lava too. But yeah, but then Sentinel and Chaos become my favorites in those kind of situations where you can just ring out somebody.
That might be my favorite special ability in the game is Groz's tackle charge because you can feel your opponent's panic when you're barreling down on them and when he gets you and picks up your opponent and runs with them.
Yeah,
Now you do a huge amount of damage if you can ram them into an object. And it's so satisfying to get a kill that way, like every time. And his super is so cool. It spawned its own game mode. He picks up this giant
yeah,
boulder and throws it, and anyone who gets run over by it gets instant killed, and it will bounce off of walls and roll around for like 10 seconds. It's pretty chaotic. So
yeah. I was
there's
about to
this
say, I'm curious. Well, I'm sorry. I'm curious if Mike or Lisa have gotten a chance to play that mode. It's called Boulder Bash. That
Boulder
it's not
Bash.
always available, but sometimes they're like, "Hey, play Boulder Bash now." And if you ever see that, you guys have to try it. Like,
Did
um,
not know that
I
existed.
okay,
Yeah, I haven't seen it, I haven't played it, but with Graz, I'd say is the one character that I can pull an Overwatch um relation to because
Who is he
Reinhardt
similar
has
to?
the charge
Okay.
move. Yeah.
I
Then
see.
he's got a charge move, but that's where it ends.
Yeah.
So in Boulder Bash, everybody's Graz, and you only have your ultimate, and it constantly recharges. So
Yeah.
it's just like Raiders of the Lost Ark everywhere, just trying rolling boulders, and
Yeah.
turns the whole map into a pinball kind of situation. So
We called it Donkey Kong mode. Like you're
oh,
all
there we
Donkey Kongs throwing the barrels at each
go.
other.
Yeah.
I do also appreciate with draws that like one of the first cosmetics that I unlocked for Graz is like Shadowlands stuff,
What
which
is that?
it so on Kashyyyk, since it is very much a forested planet, but it's a forested planet to an extent that like Endor has like, okay, you're up in the trees, but there's a ground. Kashyyyk is basically entirely in the trees. As you go further and further down, it just gets darker and deadlier like the ocean. It's
Whoa.
And so the Shadowlands is basically the lower levels of Kashyyyk, and effectively one of the like rituals to become an adult is to go down into the lower levels far enough that you can hunt something that lives down there and get back out.
I love that the game devs just by dropping the Shadowlands name, like they're showing their fans of the extended universe. Like
Yeah.
that's so cool.
I think it's one of the coolest things about the Wookiee homeworld, and I was a little bit disappointed that the first time we finally got to see in episode 3, they showed us like this
Beach.
beach.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, but I love the notion of just like they live in the trees, and it's so unsafe to be on the ground.
Yeah, if the next thing they do is show Coruscant with a meadow, I'm gonna be really mad.
And I also love that Graz, like he fights with these two war clubs, but like a lot of costumes, they're arms of droids, like different droid arms,
Yeah,
which
I think
ties
you were the one
into
that pointed out to me that I didn't realize right away that his clubs are literally just Imperial security like, well, oh yeah, exactly. Sorry, I just realized I was trampling over your segue there. That
okay.
that it's chaos is. I would say here. Sorry.
Well, no, you're so Chaos's backstory. She's the other tank we haven't really discussed yet. Is that she is an Imperial KX droid, reminiscent of Alan Tudyk's Rogue One character, and her original arms were stolen while she was powered off. And so she replaced them with blast shields, and she's fighting to try and figure out who took her freaking arms. And I was like, of course it's Graz, but I'm like, but also though, there's Jawa scavengers, there's Slingshot, who's like this kind of dastardly mechanic guy. I'm like, there's actually multiple suspects.
Right.
And me like just profiling the Wookiee who loves to hit things with other people's arms. Um, I don't know. Like I think personally we can eliminate Slingshot and Chaos. I don't think either of them are going to beat Graz or Sentinel. But Brian, you're a
Okay.
Slingshot fan, right? Lisa, are you cool with that?
Yeah.
Now, Chaos could put up a good fight against Maxwell Smart.
Who's that? Chaos. Oh, sorry, Mike. I missed that joke by that much.
Well, I was gonna say yeah, I'm okay with that. Slingshot's also not generally one of my favorites, but I also find but similar to like how there are certain game modes where a certain character could suddenly have an edge. I do really love Slingshot for trophy hunt. I find that I'm pretty sure because once you hold trophy, everyone gets slowed down. But Slingshot is clearly still the fastest while carrying trophy, so that can be so effective. Just grab it first and get out of there and go back to your team so they can protect you. But outside of that game mode, I don't think he's as strong as the other ones. So
I think it probably is my favorite just creative design of this group.
Yeah.
Like that was that is awesome to see.
Yeah. And again, kind of Star Wars demolition-y, Mike, if you'd agree with that. But one thing that kind of frustrates me about the Star Wars universe, and especially about this character Slingshot, is that he's an Ugnaught inventor, and Slingshot refers to the team name of the Ugnaught Dizzy and his destroyer droid that he customized. But why don't I get the name of the droid? If they're this partnership, how come he gets a name but the droid doesn't? And like Graz using arms, like are droids people or not in the Star Wars universe, guys? Like is that ever heavily debated?
Well, I mean, I guess in a lot of ways there are characters who don't see them enough as people, and others that do. Like they make a distinction of how like I know they like one of uh they always sort of depict Obi-Wan as being a little droidist, for example.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Whereas Anakin very much considers them to be people in that same way. But I also, but they're sentient. At least by all appearances, they seem to be just as lucid of mind and sentient as any of the living characters. And I've always loved that moment in Solo, by the way, where all the droids revolt and on Kessel.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't realize. I just assumed because the droidica is essentially his vehicle, that I didn't know. Like I assumed it didn't have a mind of its own anymore, that he just took out its brain and just turned it into a vehicle. Jeremy, you're saying in the lore that that's a thinking like droid.
Living droid. Well, and so I didn't realize that either. I thought it was also a vehicle, but then I looked at the character select screen on the website, and like Dizzy is very clearly like standing next to it, and the droid is sort of animating independent of him. So yeah, I think it's supposed to be a partnership. At least that's how the website describes it.
Okay.
But so I still say it's between Graz and Sentinel. As much as I love Sentinel's super attack, where two other stormtroopers drop in, and then sometimes
Sure.
it'll be Sentinel versus Sentinel, and they both hit their super, and it
Sure.
very much feels like a Star War in that moment because there's like six stormtroopers just blasting away at each other.
Sure.
Not
So
to be confused
Lisa,
when it's Graz versus Graz and a special attack, and you both just knock each other out.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Lisa, if you had to pick between Sentinel and Graz, who goes on to the next round?
That's tough.
It is
Because
tough.
like style wise, I think Graz is better, but at least play wise for me, Sentinel's better.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go Sentinel.
Okay. Because I was gonna go Graz.
But that's okay.
Brian, Mike.
I mean, I am going Graz. I'm not good at Graz yet, but Graz is definitely the one that I've been playing the most. And
Yeah.
it's the one where I keep running up against other Wookiees and just being like, wow, that Wookiee is doing a lot of damage. Why isn't mine doing that?
Adventure Wookiee.
I still got to give it to Graz as well. As much as like Sentinel, I will. Sentinel is the one I'm always gunning to try to grab it if we're in Vader's castle, because I just love knocking people into lava with him. But you can do that with Graz too, as long as you know to cancel that charge at the right moment. And just that ultimate is so much fun, especially in the game mode that was specifically geared to just do that. So yeah, I got to give it to the Wookiee.
All right, so then let's go for the
The
last
Wookiee?
of the preliminary rounds. We're going to discuss finally the support class. It's the most underrepresented group. This class is focused on protecting allies and currently only has 3 hunters. So we are going to pit Sprocket, the Mon Calamari prodigy, Zaina, the rebel war hero, and Zora, the Rhodian sawbones, in a fight to the finish.
Scora.
What did I say? Oh,
Zora.
I said Zora.
Nice.
That's a Zelda thing, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm getting my games crossed. So if I can go first on this one,
No.
Sprocket. Oh, okay, all right, Lisa. I'm going anyway.
She's the captain.
Mike and Brian know Akbar was like my favorite Star Wars character for the longest time. I feel like it was a precursor to my love for Splatoon. You like him too, Lisa?
I love him. He's the best.
And then the internet was like, "Oh, it's a trap," and that meme. I was like, "I liked Akbar before it was funny." Okay.
Well, also bone to pick with a lot of people who glorify the "it's a trap" moment. Leia said it first in Empire Strikes Back.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
but
he
she's
said
a
it
woman.
twice.
No one heard
He
her.
said it twice in Empire Strikes Back. Like, Luke, it's a trap. And the Imperial officer pulls away.
She's
It's a trap.
a woman. No one heard her.
Can we
No, you're
discuss the
wrong.
irony of Brian not hearing that joke at first?
Nice.
Sprocket definitely has some of the most fun costumes you can purchase. Like there's one where it turns his little hover chair into the Death Star, and it turns his little training droids that he attacks and defends with into little TIE fighters. Like how fun is that? But I would eliminate Sprocket first.
Oh.
I
Wow.
yeah. Oh, okay. No,
Keep him.
I would get rid of Zania first.
Zaina?
I do not like playing her. Yeah.
Oh, she's one of my
I would get rid
favorites.
of. Skora, but we've seen it all on different pages. This is interesting.
Well, and I would say from what I've seen, I haven't played Skora. She seemed the most effective, at least for my play style.
Okay.
Gora's borderline broken. Like
In a
she
good
fights
way
with
or
this.
a bad way?
I mean, it's
Like she's
fun.
overpowered or
I think her ultimate is overpowered. I think I think this actually is a pretty well balanced game, but her ultimate attack is to throw a gas cloud that hurts your opponents and heals your allies. And when you have a mode that's like King of the Hill and you drop that at the perfect spot,
Yeah.
it feels really tilted. I don't know, Brian, would you agree?
Well, I think I kind of agree, but I think it's interesting the mechanics that can come out of situations like we mentioned before. Char has that ability where any incoming damage can hurt Char, and can get will increase his health. And so there are moments where Skora's attack will be opponent Char's best friend and just suck that up into full health suddenly. But I also like those moments when there's opposing Skoras on both teams, and you get those moments where both ultimates are kind of overlapping. You're like, wait, which one do I get into? You know. But
It's a Technicolor nightmare in a really fun
yeah,
way.
but aside from her ultimate and the fact that of course that Skora I think is the fastest character as long as you're using that ability to do that quick sprint, which of course can be very effective for trophy hunt. Like I think Skora is, I don't know, maybe it's also I'm just not getting the hang of her little poison dart gun thing, but I find her to be aside from those advantages, she has so little health,
Yeah.
and she's got that dinky gun that can be really hard to aim just right.
Pew, pew.
Yeah, but
Well,
but like Zaina, I feel like also is like as long as you're sticking with your team, I find her to be the most effective healer. You just got to keep remembering to drop those back to bombs,
yeah.
and keep healing people. And I feel like I feel like it heals people the fastest too. So as long as you're sticking with your team, and it's also depending on the game mode. Like Zaina can be great for dynamic control because everyone's trying to get to one spot. So just that back to bomb heal all the team. Um,
And I will
the
say
first,
Zaina is also her healing is useful in more situations because like we played Trophy Hunt and I got 92% of the trophy bar by myself because she heals herself
yeah,
really
heals
quickly.
herself.
And her roll attack not only recharges her pistol, it gets rid of the overheat on the pistol so
Mm.
you can keep shooting, but it lets you kind of protect yourself. Now, granted, if you do that in Trophy Hunt, you'll drop it. But I just I know she's not the flashiest character, but she's probably the most fun to play for me. But Mike, so how are we gonna resolve this one?
I don't know because I
Well,
mean,
there's four of us.
Sprocket
I
was
like
the one that I
Zaina.
had the most fun with,
Okay.
and I liked
All
the.
right.
It felt like a lot more of because all the abilities are sort of area control things. So it was really easy to go into areas and just like I'm just putting all these down. So both because I think a couple are beneficial and a couple are aggressive. So it's like
Yeah.
okay, I'm just using all of this. So I think like that was effective. I like the design of it. I like it creates a very concerning ethical question because they make it a point it's a prodigy. So there's elements where I'm like, man, I
Oh,
really
it's a
wailed on
child.
that kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. That's true. He is canonically a child. So
Yeah, he sounds like a kid.
yeah,
Yeah, that's funny.
You
but
don't
I'm
use
glad.
you don't call someone a prodigy when they're like 30.
30. Sure. But yeah, I'm with you, Mike. Like I Sprocket is my favorite of the healers, if at least because he's still a very effective healer. You drop that little healing thing, like and you don't as long as you're roughly near it, you'll heal right away. So he's very effective in that way, almost to the level that Zaina is, while also being I feel a very effective gunner. He still can be quite good offensively. And then don't discount those little droids too that he carries. You can send out a droid to help a teammate, but also I feel more effectively send out a droid to hinder an enemy. Because when you get that little, and I'm sure you guys have had it in gameplay too, where suddenly you see that little orange drone flipping around you, and you are slow, like it's like you are in molasses, and
Mm,
that can be so effective.
yeah. Well, so if Mike and Brian are both saying they like Sprocket the best, I think that's the automatic winner because I am a Zaina stan. But so Lisa, which of the support characters did you like the best?
I think from what I've seen of Skora, she is my playstyle, so I would have to go with Skora.
All right. Well, so then I think then we're going to go on to the final round here, guys. That brings us to the moment of truth. We've covered the joy pros and joy cons of each Star Wars hunter, and now it's time to declare one hunter the winner of the Squad Brawl-Star Battle Royale.
I think that's
So,
biased.
what do you mean?
The presumption that this has to be one hunter.
Oh, okay, so Mike is throwing his weight behind Utuni, I'm guessing.
I'm definitely open to it.
And
Okay.
arguably, apparently now we know that Slingshot is apparently two people too. So
Yeah.
Neither of
but-
whom matter for this decision.
Right. So it's Graz, Sprocket, Utuni, and Pillbush. And like that's a great set of characters. Like I wish they would release action figures of these characters. I want action figures of the Star Wars Hunters characters. I really hope that the PC release is well received and that this game continues for a while because if you can't tell, I really like it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going Pillbush. I'm saying Pillbush for the whole thing. She's so cute. She's so fun to play. Mike Utunis gets your vote.
I mean, I'm still deciding from a couple. Like, I don't think Pillbush is fun to play,
Okay.
really. So so that's sort of out for me. And I think Sprocket was good enough to get this far, but then between Utuni and Graz is where I'm at.
Okay. And I would agree that Utuni is better than Sprocket. Would everyone agree
I'm
with that?
full on Utuni. Yeah.
Okay. So eliminate Sprocket first.
Sure.
Mm.
Yes.
I don't think you can
Yes,
stop
there's
us,
only
Brian.
one. There's only one.
I was
Get 'em.
about to say, like looking at these four, I mean they're all great, and it's hard to. But I feel like Graz is my least favorite of these four. But
Okay. I would say
I
Graz
can get
goes
behind that.
next. Yeah. I think
But-
Graz gets eliminated next. I mean, it's a
I
moot
think it's
point. We're not
Utini and
versus Pillbush.
Pillbush.
So I think
As I
it's
was saying,
Utini.
Pillboy.
I'm going
But
Utini
yes,
then.
I'm
Pillboy.
Utini.
No.
Sorry,
Brian.
Pillboy.
Ooh. So it's between Utuni and Pillbush.
I'm not mad at either one winning.
I
They're
have
both
to
great
probably-
design.
I have to
Don't do
lean
it.
a little
Don't do
bit
it.
Utuni.
Yes.
Well,
Oh,
I mean, that
Second
close
place.
range is so effective on top of, I mean, but both of them, I feel like also they are the top tier in terms of visual design across all the hunters. So certainly shout outs to both of them. But
look what I did.
yeah.
Just subconsciously, I put the X over Utuni's face. I am denying these
It's the
results.
top Jawa. You just like
Oh, it feels so wrong to put an X over Pillbush's face. You guys are
I mean,
monsters.
If it helps
She's
Jeremy, it's
just
a hard
second
decision.
winner.
Okay.
She's just second runner up.
I was really hoping Utuni would get eliminated so I could put two X's, one over each Jawa.
You can put one over the ATST and one over Pillbush and get that need satisfied.
There you go.
Right.
Perfect.
Not doing that. Not doing that, my beloved Pillbush. Well, we're gonna
I
call
don't
that
know.
game over.
Well, hold on. Now I'm thinking about it. Like Utuni's
No,
No
it's
backsies.
Utini.
We're
We've
ripping the
already
Band-Aid off,
decided.
Brian.
It's
Pillbush has
happened.
such an effective ultimate, though. It's so good, and I don't find Utuni's ultimate to be anywhere near as effective. But also, yeah, but that's all right.
But no one builds a car. No one builds a vehicle.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
know,
Pillbush.
I'll
Pillbush
take it.
did build a car, but not in the middle of the match.
Not in the middle of a match.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, I'll
She
stick
took her
with Utuni.
time. She had years.
they're both great. They're all great. I really love this cast of characters. We're gonna call that game over for today. That concludes the first ever Old SwitchAroo Squad Brawl-Star Battle Royale. The official best character in Star Wars Hunters is the one, the only, the two, the Utuni. Bryan, Lisa, you are two of my favorite people with whom to talk games, to play games. Before we go, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find your stuff? Lisa, can we start with you?
Sure. You can listen in to us at Geek Pop at geekpoppodcast.wordpress.com. We're also on Facebook. That's where we're most active. I don't think we have any new episodes coming up, but we've got like hundreds of episodes, so take a dive.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's a wellspring of fun nerd discussions. And last and also least, get it, Brian? You're the most Lee. You get it? Where can people find you?
Well, you can find me I'm on Instagram and TikTok as Brian with a Y .s.lee. And I'm on YouTube as Bryan Lee. I was able to grab that one, so or yeah, just youtube.com/Bryan Lee. And yeah, and I've yeah, Lisa
On
already
Star Wars
mentioned
cosplays.
What's that?
Oh, you do Star Wars cosplays sometimes.
Oh yeah. So I mean, my Instagram is just sort of everything for me, but also I guess mostly what I post is cosplay content on there, so you can check out my costumes on there. And I'm also a member of Geek Pop as well. So, but as Lisa mentioned, we've got quite a back catalog of episodes if you guys want to listen in. And
If you're listening to this, you're probably a Star Wars, or you might the chance you're a Star Wars fan. And Brian has some photos from his fan experience of the Skeleton Crew premiere. So that'd be cool to check out.
Yeah.
And everyone, until next time, please remember to like, follow, or subscribe to the Old SwitchAroo and rate or review the show wherever you get your podcast. You can also visit www.theoldswitcharoo.com to find all our social media links, and we'd love to hear what you thought of this episode or what you're hoping to hear in future episodes. As always, thanks for listening to the Old SwitchAroo, where we've been talking gaming retro with Mike and Jaymo.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Jaymo. Game on, everyone. Yay, that was really fun, you guys.
Mike, you got to wave too.
No, I don't.
Just put our hands on his screen.
Yeah.
I'm not saying bye. You have to stay.
When I make the video, I'm going to do
Lock
like
the door.
like AI hand.
That'll really make it the Star
like
Wars.
a Wookiee
thing.
arm.
Right.
The Wampa arm.
Oh yeah. Oh, that poor Wampa.
All the
Just
one
wanted-
arms.
He
Just
deserved
want to
it.
eat.
All of his one arms.
Well,
No,
guys,
there's a lot of missing arms in Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's
There
true.
are. There
Often
are.
cut off by Obi-Wan. Legs
that'd be a
too.
great
They
shirt.
deserved it.
It's just like the pile of arms.
Right.